Hey, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. Sun's kind of bright, so you'll have to excuse me for squinting. But this week, I want to talk about trees in the Bible. Say, yawn, I'm changing this. No, don't change yet. Different trees, different reasons, all in one collection of books we call the Bible. So I'm standing here in a young baby orchard, and you can see this peach tree. It's got little bitty peaches on it. You can see over here, plum tree. Doesn't have any plums on it. I guess it's plum out. Bad joke, I know. But as we keep walking through the orchard, you're going to see more trees like that. Here's another plum tree. Here's an apple tree. Now this is just finished blooming, so it's got little apples that'll be coming. And the first tree I want to talk about in the Bible is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now this is the tree that when God placed Adam in the garden, God told Adam, you can eat of any tree you want, except one. And that tree in God's garden was off limits. Now God's able to do that. It's his garden. And he's put Adam in there, and he's told Adam to keep it and to take care of it and to work it. But it's God's garden. And so Adam is there, and he's doing pretty good. But there's someone else present. It's the serpent, and he's craftier than all the creatures we read in Genesis 3. And he gets Eve by herself. And he starts to just try to convince her to basically disobey God. He says, hey, did God really say you can't eat of any of the trees? And she said, oh, no, we can eat all except this one. This tree of God's is off limits. And he says, well, that's just because God doesn't want you to be like God, knowing good and evil. Nothing wrong with that. She said, yeah, but God said the day we eat of it, in fact, she had it down wrong. She said, even touch it, we'll die. And he says, nah, you're not gonna die, shmai. And so, lo and behold, the woman eats the fruit, gives it to Adam who's nearby, he eats it as well. And it starts that day, not in the sense of a 24-hour day, but in the sense of the time period. It starts that day of death for humanity as the story is related in Genesis. Now, it's an interesting thing about sin. First of all, I look at this story and I think, well, I wouldn't have done that. And then I think, what a fool am I? How many times do I do things that I know God has told me not to do? I'm horrible at it. There's something about sin that is attractive in and of itself almost. And to develop a distaste for sin is something that really requires discipline. It requires getting to know the truth behind sin and what it is and what it does. And so I look at sin and I cut them some slack for this. But I'm also a little bit harsh on them because you know what they did? They stole from God. And this is the lawyer in me coming out admittedly. But this wasn't simply a sin of disobedience. That's God's tree. God said, don't eat of it. You can take any of the fruit from any of God's trees you want to, except that one. Don't take it from that tree. And when Eve did that, she stole. She and Adam tried to steal from God and take what was God and make it their own. And Satan promised her, if she would only do that she would be like God. As if a tree would make you like God. Well, I'm convinced that sin has a way to make us see things that aren't real. It can cloud our judgment. It can parade itself as something more valuable than it really is. And I want to do better at identifying sin and learning the lesson from those trees. Now, history has given a bad rap to this tree and called it an apple tree. There's no indication it was an apple tree. And I like apples. And I don't want it to be an apple tree. I don't want it to be a peach tree. I'd like it to be like a persimmon tree. I never have had much to do with persimmons. But regardless of what kind of tree it is, even if it's the most luscious, wonderful fruit tree in the world, if God says no, I need to honor God. So I'm going to try to pay attention to that today and this week. honoring God and what he said. He is, after all, God. And that's your video thought for the day.